Hello, welcome, happy International Women's Day. So March 8th is International Women's Day. Also, I think that March is in a bunch of countries like Women's History Month or Women's Month. When I did my January-February wrap-up video earlier this week, I noticed that of the 10 books that I've read so far this year, only 2 are written by women, which we need to remedy that, like, ASAP. That's just not okay. That's just not right. That's just not right. We gotta do something about that. And so March comes in very conveniently for me with International Women's Day and so many people around the globe celebrating Women's History Month or Women's Month. We're putting the ladies in the spotlight. And so I thought, okay, since the balance between male authors and female authors so far is not great, I want to focus on some books written by women this month to try and even the score a little bit. I don't really want to consider this video a TBR because I don't like making TBRs. If I kind of force it, then I'm just gonna end up reading none of it. So I've accumulated a small list of 6 that I really hope to get to. They're books that I've been meaning to get to anyway, books that I'm really excited to read, and mood allowing, I'll get to them this month. It's just kind of like a priority list of all the books that I get to this month. I really hope that these particular ones will be among them. I might not get to all of these, but I really hope that I do. And of course, I'd like to get to even more. I have a lot of books on my TBR by women, but these are kind of just, these feel very appropriate. I don't know, maybe you'll get it when you see them. I just kind of want to focus on books by female authors this month. I'm really pumped to get to these books and I want to share them with you. So that's what this video is. Yeah, let's just get to the books. Also, quick note that I forgot to mention at the very beginning of this video, but that I'm gonna circle back to now. I'm picking out these 6 books from my physical TBR. I'm trying to get through my physical TBR, and so that's why these are the books that I'm choosing. But there are, of course, countless other books that are equally or even more appropriate for a day like this or a month like this that I would want to read, but that I just don't have access to right now. So maybe I'll get 1 or 2 of them throughout the month, maybe not. But yeah, so the books that I'm mentioning are picked out of my physical TBR. Now, we can get to the books. The first book that I'm going to mention is actually a book that one of you brought to my attention very recently. I think it was in my haul video that one of you left a comment saying that you'd recently read this book and you recommended it to me. And I always look up the books that you mentioned to me. If I don't already know them, I always look them up. And so I looked this one up, and quite right, it did intrigue me. When I saw it in the store, I couldn't help myself. It just kind of ended up in my basket and then kind of ended up at the counter and then kind of just ended up in my home. It's I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. This is, I believe, originally written in French, and so it's been translated. This is the English translation. I really don't know all that much about it because the back is quite vague. It's intriguing enough to pull you in, but like it's quite vague. I have started it. The story kicks off with this situation where there's 40 women, or like 39 women and 1 young adult, 1 teenager. We don't really know how old any of them are. They're all in a cage, underground, completely isolated from the rest of the world. They can't even see the sky. And it's been years. Our young main character, she's grown up in this environment. She doesn't have any memories of her past life. She doesn't have any memories of what it's like outside of this environment. And the memories of the other older women are getting quite hazy. And they don't know what they're doing there, why they're there. They know nothing. They're guarded 24/7 by a group of men. I guess they're like armed men who don't interact with them at all, that don't talk to them, they only observe. And like, that's all I know. It's a very weird kind of reality to fall into. I've started reading this, right? I've started it, and I'm only like 30 pages in, but already it's kind of been a similar experience to when I started reading All Quiet on the Western Front, and I just kind of needed, okay, I need to be in the middle of no other book. Just, there's so many things to digest. There are so many observations of things that are just, they're so hard hitting, and I've just wanted to like highlight almost everything that I've read so far. Already on the first page, I was like, okay, I need to reread this, and then when I do, I'm going to be underlining, highlighting, writing comments, because wow, as I said, I'm 30 pages-ish in and already absolutely hooked. There have been so many interesting observations, and it seems like the kind of story, so far anyway, it seems like the kind of story that's just kind of, having only like started this book, my initial impression is that this is a very kind of heavy evaluation or like analysis discussion of investigation into what it is to be a human, a person, and I'm sure there will be plenty more to come as I keep reading. It's not a very big book, but already it feels like it's going to be a very impactful read. I can't wait to talk about it though. This is one of these books that I already know I am going to wish that we'd read together in school, at uni, just so I could have like a discussion with others and hear their thoughts and feelings on what we've read. I just think that this is going to be a really, really good book. So far, it's an excellent reading experience. It reads very smooth, very quick, and still manages to like pack punch after punch after punch. And I'm just having a blast reading it, really. It's very, very interesting. I have no idea where the story is going, but I'm so intrigued. Thank you so much to the person who recommended this to me. Thank you so much. Another book that I'm going to take this month as an opportunity to get to is Britney Spears' The Woman in Me. This is her, I guess, memoir or biography memoir. When it comes to reading or learning about an actual person's life, I always think that hearing it from themselves is the best way to go about it. As I mentioned in my haul video, I feel like everyone knows Britney Spears has been through a lot in her life so far. I'm very interested in seeing what it is she chooses to highlight, what it is she chooses to say, how she goes about saying it, how much of it she delves into, how she chooses to go about doing so, and what her own opinions are on the things that she's gone through, how she's dealt with them, and just basically seeing what it is she's chosen to share with us and how she chooses to do it. So this is a book that probably won't take too long to get through. It's pretty short and the text is enormous, so I'm probably going to get through this in a day. And yeah, like I said, March just feels like an appropriate month to be getting to this one. This next one is exciting because it's Egalias Døtre by Gerd Brantenberg. This is a Norwegian book. It does have several translations, including an English one, and I believe the title is Egalia's Daughters. This is satire, and it is basically a story where the traditional gender roles are swapped, because in Egalia, this made-up world that Gerd Brantenberg has invented, women are in charge and men are oppressed. And it's basically meant to hold up a mirror to society as we've known it forever. I've heard so many things about this book that people have very strong reactions to it. The way that she's kind of taken apart our language to highlight just how much of it is centered around men, and kind of having excluded the fact that half the population is female, and how normalized that is, how we don't even really reflect over that kind of thing, and at the same time how ridiculous that is. This was originally published in the 70s, and it's become a modern classic, particularly when it comes to feminist literature in Norway. This is a very important book, a kind of staple book in Norwegian feminist literature. I know that I've seen plenty of reviews that have said when they finished this book they were angry for one reason or another. It made them very angry, and as far as I understand it, that's the point. Whether you're a woman or a man reading this, I think it's meant to evoke a strong response from you, because it's meant to highlight just how ridiculous so many things that we just take for granted and accept in society are. This doubles up because I can count yet another book read in a Scandinavian language this year, which is very exciting. I've had this on my shelf for quite a few years now. My mother bought it for me a long time ago and I never got around to it, but it's about time. I'm going to take the opportunity of this month to highly prioritize this one, especially because I can read it in its original language. I kind of am interested to read the English translation once I finish it and see how it compares. So this one, huge priority for this month. I'm very excited to read it. Next is another non-fiction book. This was also in my book haul video, Becoming by Michelle Obama. Again, I'm not particularly invested in the Obamas, but I always really enjoyed hearing Michelle Obama speak. I think she's a very good speaker, and when I started flipping through this book, the writing style really pulled me in. My very first impression, my initial impression, is that this is written very well, and that had me really excited. And you can never really go wrong with, a true story of someone who didn't start off as the success that they have managed to build themselves into becoming. I'm sure this will be quite inspirational. I'm sure, I know for a fact that it's written very well, and I just kind of wanna know what's up, because I know how popular not only Michelle Obama is, but the books that she's written at this point. I know how popular they are. This book has gotten so much praise and so much love, and I figure it's nice to read about some real women as well for this month. So, a true story of someone who has inspired a lot of people, and that seems to have been written very well, and that I'm sure will be quite interesting. At least I hope so. So yeah, Becoming by Michelle Obama. Then we have a book that has been sitting on my shelf for a while, and it's not really like in the same kind of categories as these ones, but it is a women being badass story. It's Widows by Lynda Plante, and as I understand it, this book is basically about 3 women who are widowed. The men they were married to were attempting a heist that went wrong. They died, and these 3 widows have decided that they're going to complete the heist that their husbands did not survive. This is supposed to be a mystery thriller, and I think it's nice to mix in this kind of story, this kind of break from some nonfiction and some literary fiction, just to kind of mix things up a little bit, not make things too monotone. Apparently this has been turned into a movie, which I've heard nothing about, so I'm not sure if that went through or not, but I know that Lynda Plante has written a ton of other stuff. My mom is a huge fan of her books, and so if I do end up really enjoying this one, I will have more books from her to read. This is described on the back as groundbreaking, so my expectations are high. We'll see what I think when I finish it. This is one of these books that I'm not sure that I'll get to this month. This is not the highest on this list priority-wise, but it would be really cool if I did end up getting to it. It really does sound pretty epic, so here's to hoping that this one will be included on my March wrap-up. And the final book that I'm including on this list of my priority reads by women this month is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This was a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be, so I really don't feel like I have much of an excuse not to get to this one. I am also really, really intrigued. I know that it's a modern classic and that it's incredibly highly praised, and I really, really want to get on the bandwagon. I want to know what's up. I want to know what everyone's talking about. I've heard so many good things about this book. I know to expect this to be quite a harsh read, and I'm particularly intrigued and concerned about that because people keep saying that this is a book that's relevant today, and considering the fact that this is apparently a science fiction novel, I mean, anytime a science fiction novel is described as, hey, quite relevant today, it makes me nervous. I really, really hope that I'll be able to get to this one. This one is also one of those that's super, super high on my list. I think if I had to rank them, this one and Egalias' Daughters are the books that I'm like really, really, really going to make an effort to get to this month. If I read any of these 6 books this month, it'll be The Handmaid's Tale and Egalias' Daughters. I've heard so many fantastic and also terrifying things about this book, and even though I don't really know what this book is about, it just feels like an appropriate pick for me who hasn't read it yet. Getting to it in March seems like a good choice. So yeah, The Handmaid's Tale. So these are the 6 books that I'm going to prioritize this month. There's only 6, so it should be doable. Already started this one, and I will be prioritizing these 2 books ahead of any of the others on this list. If I can get to the rest as well, that would be an excellent bonus. Again, I am planning on hopefully reading more books this month. Most of them I'm going to aim at being by women, like Amelia Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I want to get to that one this month. Women on Fire is another book that I want to get to this month. I'm hoping that this month I'll be able to balance out my reading habit so far this year. I'm gonna try and make sure that I'm going out of my way to pick female authors. Again, I've already read 10 books, 8 of them are by men and 2 are by women. So the goal is to even the score by the end of this month. And then that's something I have to keep an eye on for the rest of the year as well, because I really don't want it to be like wildly disproportionate. We need a much better balance there. As always, if you have thoughts or opinions on any of the ones that I've mentioned, then please do share them in the comments. If there are books that you are planning to read this month intentionally because of International Women's Day or Women's History Month, then please do share those as well. I'll take any recommendations you have of books that you really, really enjoyed, or books that you really, really think are important that are written by women. I'm trying to get through my physical TBR, right? And so that's why these are the ones on this list, because these are books that I have on my shelf already. There are lots of other books by women that I would have loved to read this month if I owned them, if I had access to them. At this moment, I don't. These are then the books that I'm trying to like get off of my physical TBR this month. But I do have a long list of books that I think would be really, really nice to read for a day like this or a month like this, where there's a specific focus or spotlight on women. That's all for me today. I just wanted to share my little TBR for International Women's Day, Women's Month. Hopefully getting to all of them. We'll see. Again, we'll see. Not going to be too strict with myself because my mood will be the one in charge as always. So yeah, that's it for me this time around. When this video goes up, I'll be out spending the day with my mom and my aunt. That'll be really, really nice. We're gonna treat ourselves to a little cafe brunch. You can never go wrong with a good brunch. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've had a really good day. I hope you have a really, really lovely weekend. And I hope that the book you're reading is a really, really good one. Bye!